Oh, Mom.
All right.
Welcome to Our Mind on Music.
Episode 5. This is episode 5, my friend.
And it's called Film Scoring. No, scoring.
Well, yeah, we just want to call it scoring.
Yeah.
I think it'll get us a lot of hits.
Score.
Score. Hockey players are going to be looking for it, and possibly other people.
Yeah.
Soccer
people
players.
Looking to score.
In soccer, you mean?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Also known as football.
No F sharps or B flats in this episode.
I know, we got a little carried away with our accidentals there, if you will.
Yes.
So we're talking about today. We're going to talk about.
By the way, I know I'm not going to do it through the whole episode, but
okay.
I've noticed we don't say oot, and that's a very. I've been listening to these podcasts 4 episodes now. Mm-hmm. We don't say oot. We say out.
Well,
okay?
That's the thing, I was in Canada and I said I'm gonna go out for some coffee, and my mom said, "Get out of my house." And that's unusual because she's Guyanese. Watch your
mouth, mister.
She's from Guyana, which I don't know. That accent is just
so weird coming from her, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about movie, TV, and video game scoring, so making the music for this. But when we started to do the research on this...
Too much stuff.
It's huge. It's massive. So scoring means like the background music that you listen to while you're playing your game or while you're...
You don't even know you're listening to it sometimes.
That's right.
You're watching a movie and you feel an emotional surge all of a sudden in a certain part of a movie.
Yeah.
Or you feel a anxiousness.
Yes.
There's a string note holding there forever and ever because it's increasing the tension and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, the shepherd tone, right?
Okay. Yes.
So the shepherd tone it's an audio illusion. Like we have optical illusions. Yep. We also have audio illusions.
Okay. What
this is that you create a sound that is rising. Mm-hmm. It rises 1 octave, right? And as it's rising from the first, let's say if you're in the key of C, you're starting on C, right? Mm-hmm. As it rises from C to the next shining C.
Oh, God. I can't believe you did that. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Enjoy yourself, Dad.
So dad jokes are just built in now at this point. So as you're going from the first C note to the second one, it's rising, right?
Yep.
But as you're doing that, it's also, you turn down the volume on that octave glissando is what that is, right? If you're sliding from one note to another, it's called a glissando or a portamento. Mm-hmm. As you do that, you turn the volume down and you start another process going that overlaps, and it turns the same thing, basically. In time, one is going higher, but it's going lower in volume, right? At the same time, you start another one that's doing the same thing, and you overlap those so that our ears don't hear that happening. All we hear is that it's continuously rising.
Yeah.
It's actually only doing an octave, or you can do it over 2
And another
octaves,
trick is to increase the tempo.
Sure, yes,
right?
Yeah. So that's called a shepherd tone, and that's been used in movies. Is it Dunkirk was a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the movie that they used that extensively. So whenever there was a fight scene, one of those terrible scenes when they're fighting with the machine guns and the whole thing, they would use shepherd tones. You'd hear the orchestral music playing and you wouldn't even notice, why am I feeling so anxious? Yeah. It's because they were using shepherd tones that would just keep rising and rising and rising, and it feels like something's got to happen, Yeah. It's building that tension with no release.
Yeah.
Right? Because music, it has a lot to do with just building tension and then release.
Yeah, you betcha. So this is what we're going to talk about sort of extensively over the next several episodes. They might not be all in a row, but these are the things that interest us as musicians. And also, it's an extension of our previous podcast about making money in the music sphere and keeping your options open.
Right. So that's what I started saying. It's massive because you talk about these, let's say, video game programmers. We're going to talk a little bit about Toby Fox a little bit later, who is known for his game Undertale. Mm-hmm. He didn't just write the music for that. He wrote the game.
Yeah.
And then he's like the main marketing guy. He's the face of that game, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's a Rick Beato video with a guy, I can't remember his name. He calls himself a video game conductor, I think.
Okay.
And so he started back in the 70s when they were using little synthesizer chips in the games that would get activated at certain points, like in the pinball games, actually. So he was a pinball nut.
Wow. So he was programming music or sounds.
Yeah.
For...
And so to get to that point, he was like, I want to play tuba. I want to be in the orchestra as a tuba player. And it wasn't working for him. So, but he loved pinball games. And he realized at some point that he could make money doing that. What did he do? He got a degree in composition and a degree in computer science.
Holy keeping your options open.
Right.
Batman.
And that guy's, I mean, this video is just from maybe a couple of years ago, I think. It's not that...
I guess by that point, by the 80s, he got a degree in computer programming?
No, in the 70s he got that. These guys, as we're going to find out, and even the film scoring guys, big chunk of them did not start out doing that. They didn't start out in video games. Your guy Fox was a programmer. Then he got into the music. Danny Elfman was in the band Oingo Boingo, and then he got into film scoring. Stuart Copeland, etc.
So I think if we consider this the intro to this episode, it would be, we're going to give an overview of what creating music for specific purposes, like movies, TV, video games, that is to be used in a specific purpose.
Or even musicals, like you put in there, like some of the cartoons that are musicals and whatnot.
Right.
That's a whole different thing, because you still got the score,
right?
But then you've also got the writing of the songs.
Right. So I think we have to use this episode as an introduction to...
Dip our feet in the water.
Yeah. Just the toes in the water.
Just a little, because it's a little cold.
It's a little cold, you know. It's October.
Breezy.
It's October.
Wow.
You know,
we don't want to date this podcast, though. It's any time of the year.
It's. I never said. I mean, it could be
theoretically.
October. It could be. What year is this again? Can't even remember.
All right. Stand still.
So the idea is, we're not going to limit this to one area. Like, we could just talk about movies and make that a whole podcast. But let's see this as an overview that we'll revisit, because already we've talked about going into more specifics about video games. Maybe having some people who know more about video games. Specifically your son.
And you've got a guy, a friend that's going to be agreed to be on our podcast down the road. What's his name?
Warren Leatham is. He has worked for years and years in digital animation.
Fantastic.
In Canada, in Australia, and a bunch of movies.
Looking
that he's
forward
worked
to
on.
that.
And so I think it's about introducing this idea of scoring for something, and then we can go into specifics over time, as you know, when we're able to talk to these people and when we have more information.
Yeah.
Let's start off with. Before we even start off on the specific episode.
Shameless Terrace plug? Is that what you're going to say?
Oh, is this? Yes, this is a good time for that.
Okay, so we're off brand today. This is not Terrace coffee, and I'm afraid I'm very disappointed. It's terrible.
Quite frankly, I've never been so disappointed in all my life.
Well, listen, you need your coffee fix, right? And I didn't happen to be at the Terrace today, which is a fabulous Thai music and live music venue in SeaWorld Square in Shuko, Shenzhen, China.
That's right. Yeah.
That's it.
There we go.
Shameless plug's over.
Okay. That's okay. So right back to what we were. Where am I? Okay. So a couple of things, because I remember I think it was our last episode, possibly the one before, when I talked about Mary Spender, who is she's a singer and songwriter, but she also has a YouTube channel that she's been doing for a few years now. She did one episode that was really good about she had 1 million views of one of her videos on YouTube. In the last time that I spoke, I think I said Spotify or something. It was
YouTube.
It was YouTube. It was 1 million views, and I couldn't remember the number that she said, because like one of the things I loved is she was ultra transparent about how much she made and exactly why.
Right.
So I'm going to put the link in our description notes, because this is something for anybody who's considering trying to
YouTube it.
Well, to do any sort of like social media and YouTube, all that kind of stuff. She explains it in a way that I think is a really, really clear understanding of how to actually do this so that you're not blocked, but also so that you can try and get some revenue from it.
Right.
She got 82 pence. So not point not no, is it not 0.82 pounds? So
wow.
She got less than £1 for 1 million views. But then she goes on to explain, it's not like YouTube bashing. She goes on to explain the mistakes that she made in terms of what you select for demonetizing and all those kinds of things. And she actually explains how to do better on that. And then she did another video where she got just over 1 million and she got like £1,300 or something like that.
Just by adjusting. Go watch the video, man.
Go watch the video. Holy cow, I'm just introducing things. Like, why do you keep asking me things, you know? Like I'm supposed to know stuff.
We knew stuff. If we knew stuff, we wouldn't be here. Wait a minute.
Yes, well, hold on a second. Wait.
That's kind of odd. Anyway, go ahead.
So she goes on and she's saying, it's not just the 1 million views. It's who's watching it, where they're watching it, how long they watch it.
Do they share it?
All those kinds of things. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. I'll put the link because I think it's well worth watching for anybody who's looking to do this kind of stuff.
Okay. You have another correction?
Oh, geez. Yeah, Just Ideas Music. So there's this group of guys. I said that they were working out of Toronto, recording Le Vara, who, if you haven't heard Le Vara, go onto Spotify, go onto YouTube and all those things.
I'll be fine on my own, but if you love me, let me know. Shouldn't fight for a reason for you to stay if you're leaving, baby, all minds made up.
So Le Vara, I strongly suggest you go listen to her. And Just Ideas Music out of Kitchener, they're creating, actually they have other artists that they work with, and it would be well worth looking them up, because when we talked about producers and also earning stream, they tie in really well together.
Sure. Good stuff.
I'm going to talk about, a little bit later, I'm going to talk about a movie, and you're going to think, why on earth would you choose that movie out of all the great movies?
That's what they call foreshadowing, folks.
Ooh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
So we've done callbacks.
Way to set it up.
Huh? Look at that. Huh? You like what I've done there?
Well, let me talk now, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Sister.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Because this is a quick and easy one.
Okay.
Hurdle, Heardle, is a thing that Spotify has been doing for who knows how long, but I just discovered it. You know the game Wordle?
Yeah.
Is New York Times does
Yes.
that, right? So Wordle, Spotify took this idea and did Hurdle, and it's named that tune.
Okay.
They'll play like 1 second of a song.
Yeah.
And then you have a chance to guess that song, right? And then 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And then I think it's like the max you can get is like 5 seconds of the song.
Really?
And can you name that song? Yeah, there you go.
So I wanted to say, first of all, we always plug Rick Beato, but this time we've actually got a connection with two Rick Beato videos. And you're going to put the links in the
Sorry, I almost
description.
spit on my coffee there. Because I'm like, we always talk about him, but now, actually,
We're going to actually connect him to the topic.
Other than just, we're fans.
No, because he's got a plethora of amazing videos, and I love watching them. And he picks apart songs, and he teaches you stuff, and he talks about music theory. But he's got one on film scoring that's just incredible. And it's like, what film scorers know that we don't?
He did a follow-up on it, so he's actually got at least 2 videos.
Well, put them both on there because I haven't seen the other one. The one that he gets into with film scorers, what they know that we don't, it's mostly about, he talks about how the one who's doing the score will get a temp track. So, and then that's what they go with, and it's more or less what the director or the producer wants to go with for the music, wants that type of music. And he actually even has what John Williams received from George Lucas for the first Star Wars.
He didn't say that. He
didn't say that?
He said theoretically this is what he could have received. In fact, probably this is what he received.
See, here I am educated by
There
you.
Actually, who knew?
Okay, so but anyways, he takes well, he said it was a piece from 1942 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was
like a fanfare thing.
Well, he uses a bunch of different examples because he uses some stuff from.
He went through the whole thing. He's got it all sampled on his keyboard, so it's really cool. Check that out.
Yeah.
And the thing that I didn't know before is with the scales, with the modes. When you get into modes, he goes through a chart in there. So let's not get too deep into the woods. But I mean, he said the composers for film scoring use modes a lot. And
Absolutely.
they also use a lot of really like extended triads and stuff like that.
Well, there's a spread triad, right?
Spread triad, yeah.
Actually, that's exactly what I teach.
Nice hair, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to look more like you.
We got to redo our photo now. They really look like brothers.
Or not, you know.
Or not. Just leave it the way it is.
So especially in my choir classes, not only because I have instrumental classes as well.
Yeah.
Especially in my choir classes, I teach the students a lot of the theory that he talks about there.
Yeah. It's interesting too. He talks about how they go through all of. I mean, he's got an intro to a lot of different scores that start in each one of those different ways.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The way he does that. This is the reason I bought the Beato book.
Yeah.
Because that interactive series that he has, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
The way that he explained that with the examples, connecting back to stuff that we all understand, like how the music from Star Wars makes us feel.
Yeah.
You don't have to already know about major and minor chords, or when he talks about the spread triad, because we talk about that a lot.
Yeah. If you're getting into composing and whatnot, highly recommend that video. You got a list of the composers there?
I have.
Man, I was going through some of these guys' bios. Hokey dokies. These guys are incredible.
So
there's a website that we always go with, like a top 10, or this one was a top 40, I think. Top 40 movies.
Yes, of all time.
And then from that, I sort of extrapolated into the different composers. John Williams is all over that list. He's got like 8 movies on that list.
Well, and since we're not quite off Rick Beato, like he does the video. It's like the best 1 minute of music.
Oh, I haven't seen that one
yet. All time or something, and it's John Williams. What do you think of? Which music do you think of first when you think of John Williams?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, right.
He did Schindler's List. I think he did.
Did he do that?
I think so.
Ooh, that's
Jaws. Incredible. Like just little motifs that he made like super iconic.
The one that Rick Beato talks about is E.T.
Oh, E.T., yeah.
It's the part in the movie, the part where E.T. is going home. He always says, E.T., go home. It's the part where he's leaving. And that 1 minute when they show the kids looking at him and E.T. is like the whole thing, he says, Rick Beato says, in his opinion, that's like the best 1 minute of movie music
ever.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like, I mean, of course, he goes on to explain it in tons of detail.
Yeah.
But it was like, all of a sudden, it kind of made me think, wow, because when I think of John Williams, I think about Star Wars. Lucas and I have been watching the Star Wars series now. We started a few days ago.
How are you finding it? Like, how far into it are you, first of all?
We just finished episode 3.
Ah, okay. Episode 3.
So we're about to start the original release.
Oh, you're watching
movies.
it in that order?
Yeah, we're watching
Interesting.
it in episode 1 through, right? And it's really interesting because Lucas pointed this out, and it was really funny because there's one really obvious part where it's the guy who has 2 swords, two lightsabers.
Yeah.
And he's fighting with one, right?
Yeah.
And then at one part, he lights up the other side. So he's got a 2-sided lightsaber, which was something for those of us who watched it from 1977.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my goodness, I never considered. But when that happens, there's this choir sound that comes in like, I don't know how many decibels too loud.
Yeah.
It just comes in like, oh, it's like, it's like, but it was so funny because I'm sure people watching that episode for the first time, that's what we were all thinking. What?
Yeah, right.
It's almost like
it's almost like John Williams was speaking for us.
Oh yeah, he was shouting in the audience without being in the audience. So that part I just laughed. I was like, that wasn't subtle at all.
Come on.
It was. I thought it was kind of
humorous almost.
Yeah,
right?
If you got the joke, it was comic relief at a very serious part. You know, which was Lucas points out. There's a part where Yoda is talking about young Anakin Skywalker. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give like spoilers for somebody.
For God's sake, how old are these movies?
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
2000 or so. Yeah. Years old.
Yeah, exactly.
And Yoda's talking, and I think it's Obi-Wan that says to him, I think he's going to be the one who's going to put balance to the Force,
Sure.
And Yoda says, dark and clouded the future is,
Yeah.
And as he says that...
Very good, by the way. Are you the guy doing Yoda?
Yes, Frank Oz I am. So he says that, and as he says it, you hear very quietly the orchestra goes dun 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 dun.
That's great.
I didn't even notice it because I love the way Yoda talks, and I'm watching the action of the movie, and I'm looking at all that. Ewan McGregor's there talking and the whole thing, and I'm thinking, wow, he looks he looks pretty much the same. It's 20 years later.
Yeah.
I'm thinking all those things, and Lucas pauses the movie and goes, Bubba, did you hear that? What? He rolls it back, 15 seconds and goes, watch this. And he says the line, and I hear, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, oh my God, how did you even notice that?
Unreal, yeah.
That's a gamer's ears, I'm sure. I'm sure that's a video game guy's ears.
What's really cool is the end of da, 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 da. It's a minor on the way down. So it's an E-flat major formation, going to an E-flat minor formation, and then back to the E-flat.
I just remembered, I had forgotten about this until you just said that. There's a guy who does that whole thing, the Imperial March, in a he does the whole thing.
Oh yeah, you were telling me
Major
about this guy. Yeah.
So Lucas did a stop motion animation called Major Trouble. It's hilarious because it sounds like the happiest march ever. It sounds like royalty is going to walk in. And
the thing is that's an E-flat formation. That does not sound major-ish.
No,
like it sounds very ominous and very minor.
I think
because it's kind of playing off the G rather than the E-flat.
That's interesting. We'll have.
But when you play that chord, like the G's in the middle and it's an E-flat on the bottom and a B-flat on the top, it's an E-flat major. Why does that sound so ominous?
Does it go to the relative minor? Is that why?
Well, I think it's G minor. I think.
Okay.
Right. So it's G minor would have a B-flat and an E-flat in it. Right?
G minor, the relative...
It's B-flat. So that's why I think that it sounds that way, even though the formation of the chord is an E-flat major chord. Oh, it's so weird.
Cool.
And then you go to D, 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 E-flat, B-flat, G-flat. So it's an E-flat minor. And then back to the...
I'm gonna have to look.
It's very cool. I mean, ingenious the way he put that together.
Well, that's and it comes down to it now. Like all of us, when we think about movie music, so many people would go, "Oh yeah, John Williams, right?"
Yeah.
This is a guy who, like, holy, when you talk about getting your chops together before even starting, this guy is amazing. Like his understanding of taking even like those temp tracks that Rick Beato was talking about, taking that and turning that into still original music in terms of it's not a rip-off,
right.
And knowing how to set the mood,
Well, the thing I think of him as the Beethoven of film scoring.
Wow.
Because Beethoven had some really memorable melodies that live on till today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just iconic, like Moonlight Sonata, Fur Elise, all the...
I was going to say, because da-na,
yeah.
Right? 2 notes.
Yep.
Da-da-da-da, 2
yeah,
notes.
Exactly. And the beginning of the Eroica, wow.
Don't get me started on that one.
And very recognizable. But that's the point, is that oftentimes it was just a short set of notes in Beethoven's music, right? And that's exactly what John Williams does in a lot of cases.
I think that's a good point, because there are so many people who say, well, I don't know music like you know music, so I probably, I shouldn't talk. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, the whole point is that the magic of music is that you don't have to understand it to love it.
To get it and to love it.
To get it, right? You don't have to understand it to get it.
Yeah.
That's a great way to say it.
Well, because when you're watching a movie, the point is you connect the music to the story. I think the film score has to serve one of 2 purposes. It either has to serve to increase the tension, like you said, increase the tension or set the mood, right? Because a lot of times you'll be in a very high energy, like especially the Marvel movies, right? They'll go into a really high intensity, blah, 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 and then suddenly switch to a very peaceful, quiet setting somewhere at a school. Kids
well, isn't that one of the key points of music in general is tension and release?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's the whole idea. Like the
even when you go to the movements of a symphony, right? You're doing like a very fairly intense intro usually.
Right. Yeah.
Then to the adagio into the lower part, and then if there's a third and fourth part, they're usually a lot more intense. Variations on the theme,
so that it also pulls you back in. That's the classical.
And you hear like Lucas heard, your son heard that thing in there. Yeah. You hear hints of the first movement.
He said that. He said, Bubba, is that foreshadowing? And I was like, yeah.
Absolutely, Lucas.
Yeah, like amazing. I thought.
So, Lucas, if you're listening, come on our podcast. We want to talk to you. I want to interview you.
Official invite then.
Okay, so that's one guy, John Williams, and I mean these guys have extensive. Are you gonna put the Wikipedia links on there as well? in
Sure.
the description?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Because amazing what John Williams has accomplished. Just the Grammys alone, this guy has got like a ton. I think over 20.
Well, we're going to talk. Actually, maybe that's where we'll go now. But Danny Elfman, so Danny Elfman, Oingo Boingo. First of all, what was Oingo Boingo's?
I don't even remember. I just remember knowing that band name.
Okay, so Weird Science, the movie.
Oh yeah, right.
Right, Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah.
And what was the?
This is the point where you go, oh, you don't know that movie?
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, and I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you. Like,
kind of a wacky, almost Thomas Dolby-ish band.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Ooh, I have something about him as well that we'll get to, and it is
About
related.
scoring? Thank God. Man, we're really on. How are we doing it on topic today?
I don't know. It's just weird.
We haven't talked about anything off topic.
You know why? It's because the coffee's not distracting me. It's just there. Whereas if it was a terrace coffee, I'd be distracted and I'd be like, "Oh, what were we talking about? I just tasted cinnamon there. Oh, exceptional. Lavazza, you say?"
The Terrace. Come for the Thai food, stay for the live music. Back to Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman. So he starts off in Oingo Boingo. They do the theme music for Weird Science. Weird Science, bits and pieces, pots and pans. My friends understand. I don't even think that's words, but that's what I remember from when I was like 12 years old. And Anthony Michael.
Was it actually a science program?
No, Weird Science was Anthony Michael Hall and another guy. They are these like quote unquote high school nerds from the 80s movies, and they create Frankenstein. But it turns out that their Frankenstein is gorgeous.
Great.
She has no idea about anything of that. She doesn't know
Right.
what that means, kind of thing. And so it's this funny.
So it was made for teenagers.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, did I mention it was Anthony Michael Hall? I mean.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, but
So he starts with that.
so yeah, he starts off with Oingo Boingo. They made tons of songs, but that's the one that I remember from them. And then he goes off and so I think of him as the guy who wrote the Simpsons theme.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right?
I forgot about that, actually. But
So
yeah.
for me, that's how I. So Matt Groening?
Yeah, Groening.
He was, I guess they knew each other. He was coming up with this show, and he's like, I need a theme song. And so he came up with this thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is perfect. And it's.
How much he's made off of that thing. Holy smokes.
Oh my God. But then I start hearing this music, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Who did, whenever, I don't know if you do this, but every time I watch a movie, I'm like, who did the music? Right?
I feel the same
And
way.
I see his name coming up. Just Tim Burton movies alone. He did 17.
Is that right?
17 movies just with Tim Burton. He's got like 80 to 100 credits.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
And his music is very distinctive. You know, you more or less now, anyways, you know when it's Danny Elfman.
Correct. Yeah.
And, you know, I think I remember the first one I clued in on was Edward Scissorhands.
Okay. Tim Burton has that sort of style that he...
Well, the Batman movies.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
The Tim Burton Batman movies. I wonder if he did any work with the Coen brothers.
Good question.
Seems like it would be a good match.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, who you got?
So, Howard Shore.
Canadian.
There you go.
Canadian. Do you know what he did?
Howie? What did Howie do?
Howard Shore worked on Saturday Night Live the first 5 years. He was the
the band director. Yes,
director,
I
yeah.
did. I did
I
read
always
that.
thought it was Paul Schaefer, but Paul Schaefer was just in the band.
In Saturday Night Live?
In Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Wow.
He was in that band.
Isn't
so they all
Paul Schaefer also Canadian?
He is. They're all from the same...
All roads lead back. SCTV?
They're all the same group,
That's amazing.
including Martin Short.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, the list that you have here, I'm just gonna read the list.
Read the list and we'll come back to Howard Shore.
Correct. Yeah. So there's Ennio Morricone. Morricone?
Yes.
That guy. I mean, you and I have talked extensively. In fact, one of the first conversations I think that you and I really sort of geeked out on music was when we talked about Once Upon a Time in America.
Once Upon a Time in America.
Nino Rota.
Yes. Got to come back to him too.
Okay.
He's really
Max Steiner, who... It's funny because I read through this list that you sent this list through, Max Steiner, and I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And I go, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind. I was like, whoa, the classics. And then Danny Elfman, I was curious, did Danny Elfman ever win an Oscar?
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing, that was listed on his like Wikipedia thing was that he won the Max Steiner Award from 2017. And I'm like, I just read about that guy. That's awesome.
My synapses are overloading.
Bill Conti.
Yes.
Alan Silvestri, is he the guy who did like
Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Castaway, The Polar Express. So he worked with Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, okay.
Right? So he was...
That seems to be an interesting thing that we can revisit.
These guys work together a lot.
Yeah.
Like Spielberg and Williams is like almost inseparable.
Yes, yeah. And Quincy Jones at the Oscars, he's presenting the best movie, I think it was 2015 or something like that, best movie score. He's presenting with Pharrell Williams. And he says, just a few notes, I'm paraphrasing, just a few notes put in the right order can unite an entire cinema full of strangers.
Yeah, very cool.
And Ennio Morricone is the guy that ends up winning the award for the best soundtrack that year.
Uh-huh.
But I just thought, what a great quote from Quincy Jones talking about this, because that's the thing. Like, that's true for lots of music, right? In a dance club, in a whatever.
But I think more so for movies.
That's
because
the thing.
If you're going to a club, you're kind of like you're all sort of interested in the same thing. But if you go to a movie, it's like a disparate demographic.
So, I'm just going to throw in a little comment there. As you know, I'm a huge Prince fan, right? And actually, it's not his hits that make me so much of a Prince fan. That's how I got introduced. But
Sure.
Purple Rain,
Yeah.
But if you watch Purple Rain, the movie, I got to tell you, I don't love the movie.
Uh-huh.
But the music from that movie, I could listen to it over and over again.
Right,
I love, even as some of the stuff, because we talked about this, his production style. You know, he has a song called Computer Blue.
I haven't heard that.
The Beautiful Ones. These are on the Purple Rain soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of production style, they sound very much like the 80s, you know? Whereas Purple Rain, I think, is timeless.
Yeah.
But if you watch the movie, what happens is the hairdos, what they're wearing, sometimes, like even with Once Upon a Time in America, the makeup,
matches.
when you see, it ages,
Yeah.
it gets dated.
Yeah.
Whereas the music, Ennio Morricone, Prince, these are things that the music is timeless.
Like, even if you go back to the 90s, you realize how slow movies moved along compared to now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're so edited now, and little clips and lots of camera flips and all kinds of stuff. And the story's just moving along. Whereas you go back to The Godfather, early 70s, and I mean, that moves like a turtle, moves like a sloth.
Well,
it's a really slow movie.
And it's the same with music. Like, I mean, music used to be, it was verse, pre-chorus, chorus, right? That was the formula, right?
Yeah.
And now it's don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's changed in that sense. And it changed in like the 80s or 90s, that sense. But then it's still spelled out into that same formula, basically. Lots of verses. And whereas now the hook and the chorus is the song.
It's everything.
That's the whole song.
Many times the song starts with that.
Yeah.
Bill Conti, because he wrote Gonna Fly Now for Rocky.
Gonna fly now. So here's a question, because I was struggling with this when I looked at Encanto. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Okay. He's the composer?
Well, that's what I thought. So we talked about this guy a little bit. I mentioned Encanto at some point. You and I were chatting. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, you should say, right? And I have to say, Chamo, este señor, que talento. And I'm like, wow. But this guy, so I thought he wrote all the music and it was all integrated like he did for Hamilton and Vivo.
And he worked on Hamilton. Same guy.
Oh my God, this guy. Yeah. I mean, he just had like fire for, he's the one doing The Little Mermaid, the new one coming out.
Wow, okay.
So, I mean, just amazingly talented. Okay, but Encanto, he did 8 songs for that movie, right? But it's actually Germaine Franco.
Oh, okay.
A lady named, a composer, Germaine Franco.
Lincoln and I watched some of the, introduction to the movie, how the songs were made, etc., how they did the dance routines,
okay,
and stuff like that. And that girl was talking about the singer that did the song, the Madrigals.
Okay,
we Are the Madrigals. That song, and how she wrote that song, and how they, did the melody to a certain part, and they were worried about this girl doing that melody in that way because it was so odd.
Oh, interesting.
And she pulled it off.
Well, so what I realized, it was more of a team effort than I realized. I thought it was that one
I think
guy.
They really are, and Frozen was like that as well. They had those 2 writers, I can't remember. I think they're a husband and wife team.
Okay.
But it's the whole team. You know,
Yeah.
like they were writing. So they wrote the songs, but that orchestral team was the I guess I shouldn't say that. It's the director and then the composer of the soundtrack. He was involved, and then those two, and they just worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and they had a lot of trouble initially, I think, with the follow up, with the sequel, coming up with a lot of those melodies.
For Frozen, you mean?
Frozen 2, yeah.
Well, it makes sense because, okay, so like when I looked at, I haven't talked about the movie that I want to talk about, which makes a whole bunch of connections to things that we're talking about.
Are you getting excited?
I am.
I hope the people are getting excited.
Excited.
Nino Rota.
Okay, yes.
Because I thought it was Ennio Morricone that wrote for The Godfather, but it wasn't. It was this guy, Nino Rota.
Ooh.
The first two, my favorites. Actually, my top 2 movies of all time. Godfather 1 and Godfather 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
He was a very prolific writer, but that's what he's best known for. Nino Rota. Giovanni Rota.
So again, like, because when we first talked, I thought that Lin-Manuel Miranda had done all the music for Encanto, right?
Yeah.
But then I find out, no, he wrote 8 songs for it that are fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk about Bruno and all that, which is John Leguizamo. I didn't even realize he's Bruno.
Is that right?
Yes.
He's a good singer.
So this thing about where do we draw the line between scoring the movie, which is the background stuff that we talked about, right?
Well, because in a musical, it's a whole different bag, right?
Right, because it's all built in, right? And some of those songs, the themes of those songs come back in the score as well, right? So it becomes a really blurry line, which is also on a wider scale why we're talking about movies and TV together, because it's kind of difficult at times to differentiate. We're going to talk about Stuart Copeland from The Police, the drummer from The Police.
The drummer from The Police.
Who is also, he's made movie soundtracks. He's made TV soundtracks. Yeah. Written ballets. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I was like, what? He wrote what? I'm like, he's a drummer. I mean, you were joking about a drummer who could write
a musician?
Lyrics, who could
we
write
always
songs.
make drummers aren't musician jokes.
You're right, you know. Well, we can't anymore. Thanks a lot, Stuart Copeland. Dave Grohl and Neil Peart.
That's a callback.
Henry Mancini.
Oh, man. The Pink Panther.
Okay, so yes.
Betty.
So Henry Mancini.
Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think of. Because for me, I hear that name and I hear do-do-do-do. What does a composer say when they step on an insect?
It's a great joke. It's still funny. It's still funny.
Hans Zimmer.
Oh, I love Hans Zimmer.
What band was Hans Zimmer in?
What band was he in?
What band?
He's German. He's a German guy, so he's probably in a very avant-garde movie band. Jeez, I don't know.
What was the first video ever played on MTV?
I don't know that either.
The Buggles.
He was in the Buggles?
He was in the Buggles. So here's the thing: is if you look up the Buggles,
Video Killed the Radio Star.
You'll see, and
that's him.
No, so it's a little more complicated. So if you look up the Buggles, you'll see the names of 2 guys that were the Buggles, who went on to join Asia, and they joined all these other bands, and they're like amazing, right?
Yeah.
And they're always going to be famous for Video Killed the Radio Star, the first video to ever play on MTV.
Yeah.
But then if you look, Hans Zimmer.
Talk about foreshadowing.
Ooh.
Video Killed the Radio Star.
Wow. I wonder if that's why they used that song. Hans Zimmer is credited as being as working with that band, and we're going to go back to that idea as well, because now we've talked about Oingo Boingo, right?
Yeah.
And now we've talked about the Buggles. If you watch the video for the Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star, it's mostly those 2 guys whose names are escaping me right now. My notes are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Who does the research around here?
You're fired.
Obviously nobody.
Why don't you go off and join some other podcast? And no, that'll be never mind. So he was credited as working with the Buggles, but if you watch the video, it's those 2 guys. But then there's one scene where they show through a snare drum. There's a guy
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer
through a snare drum.
Through a snare drum, and he's a synth player, right? In the band, he was.
Okay, what movies?
Holy cow!
Chariots of Fire. Was that him? No, that's Vangelis.
Oh my! But have you seen Rowan Atkins, Mr. Bean, do the thing where he plays with an orchestra, and his part, they're playing Chariots of Fire by Vangelis. Mm-hmm. Surely it's Vangelis.
Quinoa.
Who worked with Demi Rousseau. If you ever want to listen to something, I love it, but a lot of people will say, that's schmaltzy.
Yeah.
But Demis Rousseau. Anyway, Vangelis.
Holy smokes, you're squirreling on me.
Sorry. Squirrel. Rowan Atkins plays Chariots of Fire.
Yeah.
Vangelis, which we should be talking about anyway. It's not on the list here, but...
It was actually one of the ones on the list.
But he does this thing where he's the guy who has to play the dun 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 dun, and then the music comes in da da, and then and then the piano dun 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 dun, and Rowan Atkins is going dun 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 dun. And he does this whole bit where that's just his
That's
thing.
all he's got.
It's hilarious. Hans Zimmer.
Okay, Hans Zimmer, Lion King, Gladiator.
Lion King. Wait, so what he wrote like?
Best original score in 1995 Academy Award.
Goodness. Wow. So think about that. From the Buggles to that Lion King, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean,
150 films he's worked on.
Jeez.
The Last Samurai, the entire Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, great movie. Have you seen that movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Interstellar, have you seen that movie?
My God. Okay, so that movie.
Dunkirk, you were just mentioning?
Yeah, that's so Hans, if you're listening.
So he did The Shepherd.
I knew about The Shepherd Tone.
And Dune.
Okay.
Second Academy Award for Dune in 2022.
James Horner?
Oh, James Horner.
Star Trek guy, right?
Yeah, and that's the Titanic guy. Sorry, and Avatar.
Okay, and yes, and so James Horner, the reason I would know him is because of Star Trek. If you know the website Memory Alpha.
I do not.
You do not. Okay, so you're not a Trekkie or a Trekker.
I left my ears at home.
So he was the guy, like the Wrath of Khan was one of the Star Trek movies that he did the music for.
Let's go back to Ennio Morricone. And I think that's his name because Marconi played the Mamba.
Listen to the radio. Don't you remember? We built this city.
He's got a ton. But the thing about him is, okay, here, you ready? 70 award-winning films, all of Sergio Leone's films, since A Fistful of Dollars.
Jeez. Was he the guy who did the whistle, like in the...
No, different guy.
Who did that? Do you know?
I'll tell you in a minute. I forgot.
Okay.
Okay, so Battle of Algiers, 1900.
Oh.
Have you seen that movie?
Oh, don't even start me on that movie because Tim Roth, I mean, the way he plays, the fact that I don't think he plays,
he
right?
Doesn't
but
play,
the way he plays,
hadn't played anyway.
Right. The way he plays that character, and when they do that piano dueling thing, you know, with the stride piano thing, Who do you think the guy was? Who do you think that he was going for?
I thought there was a guy from the 1900s that would have been
that guy.
That guy, but he was fictional, obviously.
Yeah, but you're saying based.
Who was he based on?
That's amazing. I have no idea, but that would.
I think he was based on a real guy, and he just didn't want to put his name on it.
Wow, I wonder.
You know,
that was a fantastic movie.
1900, Exorcist 2, Days of Heaven, Le Professionnel. Isn't that the one about Leon the Killer?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's the original one with Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. Once Upon a Time in America is his.
Yeah, that movie for me, because you talk about The Godfather, and I know you love those movies.
But this is also one of my faves. It's up there, right on the same level. Disclosure, Mission to Mars, In the Line of Fire, Bulworth, Ripley's Game, The Hateful Eight.
Okay.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You're right.
There, I thought so. Okay.
So we did come back to it.
There you go. That was carefully planned, of course. We make it look effortless. We make it almost look like we hadn't planned it. It's amazing, really.
Okay, so we're coming close. How many more on the list do you have there? So that list that you sent to me of, I think, the 40 best music film scores of all time is a really cool look. Who do you think number one was? I think you do know because you saw the list. What do you think the number one was?
What would I say? No, let's do this. What would I say? I would have said The Wizard of Oz.
Really?
I love that. I love the music.
The score, though.
Oh,
What about Sound of Music?
I love the Sound of Music. I told you we went to Vienna partially to go to that scene. Like we did the whole thing on the steps.
Yeah.
No, for me, it would be The Wizard of Oz. I just think the way that they use music to establish when a character was coming in, to like they guided you along with the music. I think it was amazing.
Yeah.
And Somewhere Over the Rainbow is still a beautiful song. I mean, Ray Charles's version of that is
Ray Charles's version of anything is good.
Yeah.
I would have chosen probably for soundtrack, just like soundtracks. So can we take musicals out of the picture? Because musicals to me is a whole different genre.
You're right. Maybe that's an unfair, because I probably would go with the Star Wars, like the 1977 Star Wars Episode
You're right.
4.
That was number 1.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that had 2 iconic things coming out of there. One was the
Imperial March.
And the Imperial March.
The perfect fifth. I mean, as soon as every kid in my class, doesn't matter where they're from.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
You knew that right away.
Yeah.
And that kid's never even seen that bloody movie.
Well, the thing is, like, we're talking about in this school, I can't remember how many nationalities we represent in this school, but let's say 30, for example.
Yes.
I don't know actually, but every kid goes, "Huh? Star Wars."
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think it's so memorable. And the da 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 da. What I love about that, the Imperial March, is exactly what I loved about the examples that I gave from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to see that guy in the suit or hear.
Well, there's another thing about that motif is that it appears throughout those 3 movies. I don't know about the later ones because I haven't really watched them, but those 3, like 4,
No, I don't think it does.
4, 5, and 6, it appears throughout, but not exactly as that. You know, he messes with it.
Right.
He hints at it.
And this is something that happened. Okay, so that first time that Lucas pointed out to me that the Imperial March is being played when Yoda's speaking, right? It's really quiet.
Yeah. It's almost like he doesn't want it to be.
No, it's more than that. It's a little more than that, because in the second episode, it's a little louder. And then third episode, when he's just about to become that, it's blaring loud. It's almost as loud as when he enters in episode 4.
I'll have to watch those.
It's knowing, I really think they released that correctly. You know, people say, well, why didn't they release number 1 first? And it's like, it's pretty slow. And I mean, I don't know if they would have had Jar Jar Binks and all that.
It was written though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he had written all 9. He had written all 9.
Holy smokes.
I just think the whole thing, the way that it was written, and there's so many aspects to that movie. This isn't like a podcast about movies per se. It's movie music, right? Mm. But
yeah, man. But you couldn't. It's almost you can't almost do one without the other. You have to know the story to score the film.
You have to have. I mean, Rick Beato says this as well. But you have to have that sense of the drama. You have to understand the story. Not to harp on this one point that I made, but I mean, The Wizard of Oz. Like when they do that thing, the witch, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's so amazing because that was done in the 1930s, right? I've seen it since I was born. You know, I don't know how many times I've seen that movie. I've done at least one production of it on stage, right? Yeah. And that is one of the things that sticks in my head. Not so much the...
I was in that movie. I was in that play.
I was going to say, in the movie. You look fantastic. You must be 120.
I was in that movie. It was a long time ago. I don't know who I was. I was one of the characters.
I have no memory before 1943.
I was going to say, the play I was in, I don't even remember who I was. I think I was just an extra. But I had a crush on one of the other girls in the play.
Oh, so that's why you were in the play.
And that's why I wanted to be in the play.
Oh, jeez. The things we do for love.
Oh, boy. And I think I was like 10 or something, like 10 or 11.
My sister, when she was in grade 8, was Dorothy. Ellie, when she was in grade 6, was Dorothy.
Is that in one of your productions?
That one, Ellie's.
What about your sister?
I did not produce that. I was in grade 4.
Well, a real producer would have been on it by then. Okay, so let's set it up. Next episode, we're going to talk more about gaming music. You have something. You have a little Easter egg you've been holding on to.
Oh, my goodness. Well, if we start that.
Go ahead.
Let's do the video game thing first, just to mention the names, because there's way too much to talk about. We would have to talk for another hour at least.
Okay.
So we have to talk about Isao Abe.
Yeah.
Yoko Shimomura and Yoshihiro Sakaguchi. Oof. It would have been easier to say that they worked for Capcom. So Yoko Shimomura, actually, she does a video that is featured. You can find it on YouTube and a bunch of stuff.
Did she break up the Beatles? Was that? Am I off on that one?
You could be my Yoko Shimomura. It doesn't. You know what? It's one of those things.
Doesn't roll off the tongue the
It's
same.
like 1900. I think it was based on someone, and they just didn't want to use the name. So, Street Fighter 2. So, a classic game. I don't remember this game. Karate fighting games.
Yeah.
And they'd say, fight! And then you had to be a character, and then you would fight. But the music that played during that game kept you in it, you know?
Yeah.
Koji Kondo. What did Koji Kondo write?
Mario Brothers.
Yeah. And I mean...
And a whole bunch of other stuff. And he works for Nintendo still, I think.
So that's the thing that I thought was amazing is, first of all of the different versions and iterations of that game always has some version of that music in it, right?
Yeah.
But then other games that he's written for, like, he's kind of like, for me, the grandfather of this whole thing. And actually, we have somebody else I'm going to talk about is Emer Noon, who's written for different video games as well that we'll get into in another episode.
Is she the one with the cool video you were telling me about?
Yeah, so she does a video for Classical FM.
Dude, hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold it in your hand. Just hold it.
Again?
Stop it. Just hold on to it.
Got it.
Don't let it go. Goodfellas. That's what I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah.
Right up there with Godfather.
Holy Ray Liotta. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said,
Go ahead. Release the thought.
I just let it go.
I smelled it.
The smell of thought. Okay. Sorry, Emer Noon. No. I mention her name and then we go into this.
Really sorry.
Spiel.
Very unfortunate segue.
So, Emer Noon, we have to talk about her and these other people I've mentioned. Undertale it was Toby Fox, and then C418 is Minecraft. And those games are still massive, huge right now, you know? And I think these are guys like Koji Kondo. We'll be talking in 40 years about these guys.
Yeah.
Because their music, I've never seen Undertale. Lucas plays it all the time. I have no idea what exactly it is. I know there's a character named Sims.
We need Lucas on the podcast, for gosh sakes.
Oh, gosh sakes. This guy's music is so varied, and like some of his piano stuff is beautiful. It's like amazing compositions. It's really, really beautiful music. It's hard for me to imagine. I come from like the Pac-Man generation and the Street Fighter. This is even Street Fighter 2. Megalovania. Hits. You know how many remixes?
Very funky.
You know how many remixes there are of this? That song is massive. So Megalovania, Toby Fox. So Emer Noon, the reason I mention her without mentioning the games that she's written for just yet is because there are two other super interesting points about this composer. Yeah. She's also a conductor, and she was the first woman to ever be asked to conduct at the Oscars. What year do you think that was? What year do you think we had the first female conductor at the Oscars? Must have been 1905, right?
You're asking me to guess, but you've told me this already. It was 2020, for gosh sakes.
2020.
Yeah.
So
we suck.
That is.
We suck.
Okay. So we're going to talk about.
Homo sapiens suck.
Okay, and Emer. I just call her Emer because we're,
You're on a first name basis with her?
Well, no, she has no idea who I am. But apparently, I didn't know this, but Nintendo has been working on this holographic 3D hologram.
This excites me.
This is the future, man.
Yeah.
So they're working on this 3D holographic concert.
I want to do a 3D holograph in Times Square concert. You and me.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Let's call it Joe Ba.
Another callback.
So Emer Noon was filmed as the conductor for this 3D holographic concert starring Maria Callas.
Wow.
I'm thinking... So
and who did this, by the way?
Nintendo. Crazy. So
Nintendo.
I never saw Rush live in person.
This is a way you can see people live and be there.
That's what I'm thinking. So, because they kind of...
No, wait a minute. What about Metaverse, where you're inside the environment? Wouldn't that be a similar type of thing?
So, okay, so from a Star Trek perspective, they have holodecks. in the next generation of Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
It's not that far. Like what you're connecting there, those two ideas, is the start of us actually having something similar to a holodeck, where you're in a room where the room is empty. It's kind of like the augmented reality stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, now metaverse is what people are banking on. Like, so metaverse is supposedly going to, give engineers an opportunity to try out their construction ideas ahead of time inside the metaverse before they actually go ahead and draw things up.
So apply that to something like a music concert. Like, you can feel like you're watching Rush or Queen or,
Isn't Queen doing some stuff with Freddie Mercury live?
Yeah, but that's just
It's a video screen?
It's a video screen in the background.
Okay.
And it's still really cool that they're playing live. I mean, they did that with Elvis as well a few years ago.
People at the time thought it was creepy. I never thought it was.
Yeah, well, I mean,
some people did.
The first time I heard something like that was Nat King Cole with Natalie Cole.
Right. So cool, that version of Unforgettable.
I think it was really amazing. I think that's really cool in terms of the technology, but also in terms of a daughter being able to sing with her dad who's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Okay, the movie. You ready for this?
What is it?
Movie from 2005. Herbie Fully Loaded.
Yeah.
Herbie Fully Loaded.
Okay.
Why are we talking about this movie?
Why? Tell me.
So Lindsay Lohan is in this movie, and Batman Michael Keaton is in that movie. Okay. Which I think is interesting that it's got on Rotten Tomatoes it's 4.5 out of 10.
Is that right?
Stars. It's like the movie itself didn't win an
Not
Oscar.
well received.
Didn't win an Oscar. Let's
Not
say that.
well received.
Okay. So one of the songs that was featured in that movie was More Than a Feeling, a cover done by a group called Ingram Hill.
Okay.
Produced by Rick Beato.
Oh, really?
Yeah, baby. Okay. And then there were two orchestrators. So we didn't even talk about orchestration because we talked about how there's a team of people. There were 40 people in the music team on this movie.
Is that right?
Yes. Let me say again.
For a Herbie movie.
Herbie Fully Loaded,
yes.
2005. 40 people in the music team, okay? Not to mention Lindsay Lohan is one of the actresses, okay?
Right. And Michael Keaton.
I mean, he's done some stuff.
He's done some things.
We've heard of him. But also, I looked at the orchestrators. What's an orchestrator? So if you're writing the songs for a movie, maybe you're composing it on a piano or, but then somebody
has to orchestrate it.
Exactly. Two orchestrators on this movie, and Richard Bronskill was one of the orchestrators. Why do I mention him?
Don't know.
He's a graduate of the University of Toronto.
Well, there you go. All roads lead back to Canada.
How many roads?
All of the roads.
All of them. Carefree highway.
Hey, by the way, have you ever heard Burton Cummings doing Gordon Lightfoot doing Burton Cummings?
Oh, my.
No time for... Okay, go ahead. That's it.
If you want to know more about orchestration, you can look at berkeley.edu. George Bruns, who is an American composer, wrote the theme music for Herbie. He was born in 1914, so...
Holy smokes.
Unfortunately, he passed away before he could see Lindsay and Michael.
Recreate his vision.
But he wrote the music. This guy, we got to come back to this guy.
Really?
Because... Okay, first of all, what's the best Disney classic movie? So, like, before, let's say, 1980.
Before 1980?
Yeah. So just name some that you can think of, like 101 Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians, right?
101 Dalmatians, The
Robin
Jungle
Hood,
Book.
The Jungle Book, okay?
Robin Hood, yeah. Peter Pan.
Okay, those movies that we mentioned, the three first ones, he wrote the music for.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, Cruella de Vil.
Disney knew how to get his guys, eh?
Holy cow, Cruella de Vil. That song alone, I'd be like, okay, put his picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Robin Hood, in my opinion, is... one of the greats.
Yeah.
Peter Ustinov as the king in that movie.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing. Phil Harris in The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Who, as you know, I'm a huge Jack Benny fan.
Yeah.
And Phil Harris was his quote-unquote band leader.
Right.
Right. He was I think he was Baloo.
Great characters in that movie.
Van Halen, Jump.
Yeah.
Is featured in that movie.
Great.
Okay.
In Herbie Love Book.
In Herbie, yeah. And so this is timely for me because Wolfgang just is putting out the re-release.
Wow, I had no idea this movie had so many ties to what we're talking about here.
Connections galore, it's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so Herbie the Love Bug, Herbie Fully Loaded. I'm not suggesting go watch the movie.
No, do.
Listen to the soundtrack at the very least. At the very least. And if you want to watch it, hey, 4.9, 4.5 is not that bad. Or maybe it's 4.9.
Well, there's a lot worse ratings on Rotten Tomatoes than that.
Oof, there's like 4. That's which is lower.
Even 3.
That's an even lower number. We could keep going all the way to 1.
Well, there's 2 in there.
There's 2.
2.5.
I skipped right over because we're running out of time. So, because this is a tie-in, Eddie Van Halen is in that movie, right? Wolfgang just released the digital re-release of his first.
His band.
First band, right?
Yeah.
So before they were called Van Halen, they were called Mammoth, and then Wolfgang used that name with his dad's permission
For his own band.
For his own band, and they are re-releasing the album as a digital release, and it's got a couple new songs on it. And Talk and Walk, I think, is the name of the first single. Yeah. So that's another connection. Okay, so last one.
Okay,
and this is from this movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Casale is one of the people who wrote music for this movie. Who's Bob Casale?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me, Jeremy?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was planning on it. Bob Casale was from a little band called Devo.
Oh, wow.
Bob Casale wrote for Herbie.
Now, for the kids out there, who the heck is Devo?
We are Devo. Da, 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 da.
Correct that whip.
Exactly.
When a problem comes along. That's in the Austin Powers movies.
So Bob Casale was Bob 2 in Devo. I don't know if you know this, but there were Bob 1 and Bob 2.
I did know that.
There were 2 guys in Devo that happened to be called Bob.
Yes.
He was Bob 2.
Okay.
I think he was actually Robert Casale.
Yeah.
Because he was like, at that point, I don't wear a plant pot on my head anymore. Stop calling me Bob 2. Okay, so, I mean, Herbie Fully Loaded. Do I have a point? Yes, I have a point. It wasn't a big hit.
Yeah.
40 people on the music team. Yeah. Right? 40 people worked on that movie just for the music, right? Yeah. So imagine something like Dunkirk, which is known for its music. And like all of these movies.
Well, and we were just talking about the Frozen movie where you've got the songwriters.
Yeah.
But you've probably got an entire team going, okay, the way this song develops, why don't we try doing this, that, or the other thing with the orchestration so that it fits, better to the narrative.
And also, like, that would be something for us to revisit, I think, is how has that changed over time?
What's the team on Sound of Music as compared to Frozen?
Right. But if you jump back into the video game world again, we're looking at Toby Fox, he wrote the game. Then he wrote the music. Then like we've said this already, but he's one guy. Yeah. And he did the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're talking
I think that's more the case in video game production. You wouldn't have a big team like that, I don't think.
I wonder to what extent.
Although Nintendo probably does.
There you go. But I wonder to what extent in movies nowadays that has changed, or has it changed? Do you still have 40 people on a movie, or do you have more, or do you have less? Or what's our next step with this whole idea?
Well, I think that we're going to do a podcast with Lucas, your son, and with your friend that is the computer, the
digital
animation.
I say it every time.
Right, so I don't think those are the same episodes. But with Lucas, we can get a little bit more in depth because he knows the games, he knows the hits, and you and I can bone up on our knowledge. So I mean, we're just scratching the surface.
All right, next step is we talk about video games with a video game expert.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good night.